What's up, guys? This is Brave, and I'm back with another review of Ready to Love, The Last Resort. This is Season 3, Episode 5. The episode is titled, The Tea is Getting Good. And honestly, the tea was definitely spilling on this episode. So let's go ahead and get started with this review. The show opens up with Brian and Alex. They're working out. And then Chris ends up joining them. And they talk about the night before. And Alex even asks Brian, how was his date with Alicia? And I was kind of surprised because I didn't even think that Alex knew that he went on a date with Alicia. But anyways, Brian, he kept it very light about the situation. He's like, it was a cool little date or whatever, but he knew that he had to go back and see Alex so that he could get a kiss, and that's definitely what he got. And she was like, he showed up to my door and I still had my bonnet on, and it's like, girl, you were still looking beautiful. Don't even start. So after that, we see Rasheed and Denise. They finally talk. I mean, honestly, I thought that we were just going to leave it with Adriana speaking to Denise. But Rasheed ended up talking to her. So he wants to address her calling him a narcissist. And she starts off with an apology. But y'all, it was not an apology that had anything to do with what she said. This apology was for Adriana because according to Denise, she does not feel like Adriana has had enough life experiences to understand where she is coming from. I mean, I will say this. Adriana probably has not had enough life experience to understand where she's coming from. But at the same time, this was not the right apology that needed to be said. Like, the fact that she went on about how she's been through all these things and how Rasheed has reminded her of, some past things that she's going through. It's like, girl, just say that you're sorry that you called him a narcissist without getting to know him, without actually knowing his personality, so that way we can all move forward. But that is not what happened. We basically ended things with nothing resolved because Denise, she feels like her feelings are valid and she just wouldn't apologize. So we next see Naya, and I'm like, okay, cool, she's gonna have another little date with Chris, right? Wrong. She was actually having a little breakfast date with Edwin. Edwin is out here making his rounds, you guys. Last week it was Joy. This week it's Naya. The guys need to watch out for him. So Edwin, he starts to talk about why he hasn't worn his dog tag chains because they remind him of his time in the war, and they hold a lot of pride, but also a lot of pain wearing those chains. I feel like I'm saying chains because he's a guy, but it's a necklace. Y'all know what I'm talking about. So Naya, she ends up talking about how she kind of had to heal a bit quicker because her mom and her grandmother passed away 2 months apart. Like, first of all, that is mind-blowing. Like, that is, heartbreaking. I don't know how she was able to, work on herself and get where she needed to be, because I know I would still be broken. She also talks about how she's had 4 miscarriages, and oh my gosh, I'm just like, Naya, you have been through a lot. I honestly just did not expect for her to say that those were the things that she's been through, but I mean, those are the type of things that will definitely make you stronger. And now I'm just like, can Naya just find love? I just want her to be happy. I really do. So she also mentioned that, she's basically worked on herself to put herself in the position to find a guy that will help her on her journey and lead her. And I'm like, I really hope that you find that, because Naya deserves all the happiness. What I can say is that I did like seeing her and Edwin together. Like, to me, like, they were on the same page, and I feel like they're going to be on the same page about a lot of things. So I really want to see more of Naya and Edwin. What do you guys think? Do you guys think they were cute together? Okay, so we went from all that cuteness to a bunch of mess in this next scene. We see, I think it was Alicia, Shay, Winter, Anthony, Chris, and Joy was there as well. They were all, just spilling the tea and talking about what happened, the night before. So Alicia, she takes the floor and she talks about what happened with Brian and how she feels like he should have just said that he wasn't feeling her. And in Chris's confessional, he said that, like, Brian, what are you doing? I thought you were trying to change from your F-boy behavior. But, I mean, clearly, if y'all remember, Brian said that he could be a savage. And I think that he's showing his true colors here. But, we're going to go more into that a little bit later. So, Joy, she ends up, telling the group about Simone telling her about Jay going into Winter's room. Keep in mind, Winter is sitting right there. Winter did not know that Simone went back and told Joy, or that she brought it up to Jay. So this is news to her as well. So Winter is now feeling a type of way because the story, it makes it seem like so much more happened than what really did. Like, I'm pretty sure nothing happened with those two. I just feel like she wanted some, like, private area that was away from, everybody. And she ended up choosing her room for them to talk. And when Simone came back and reported it, that, he went to her room, he didn't have no shirt on, like, it makes it sound like a whole lot more happened than what really did. So she's basically side-eyeing Simone now. And Shay, here comes little Miss Messy. She's over here trying to chime in, talking about, maybe Simone is just trying to, boot y'all out the way so that she can make her move. And what's funny is that Anthony is, like, peeping the fact that Shay is being messy and trying to throw salt into the game. Those are the words that he said, not me. But, I absolutely agree, though. Like, Shay, you're being messy. This had nothing to do with you. The same way that Alicia, Brian, and Alex little storyline had nothing to do with you. Clearly, this girl had no connections with anyone, and she's just trying to stir up something so that she's relevant. And at least that's the thing that I got from her. So while this whole situation is still fresh on their minds, we have Joy and Winter. They're going to have a conversation with Simone. And basically they just ask her, why did you do that? Like, you didn't have to. What made you want to even tell Joy? And Simone, she's like, well, I don't have an issue with either of you ladies. She's like, I don't have an issue with you. I don't have an issue with you. And I feel like she just did not want to be there at that moment. Because I think that she kind of felt like she was being ganged up on because there was two of them asking her questions and it was just her. But, like, Joy is like, why did you feel the need to, like, tell me this? And she basically owns up and says that, she was feeling insecure. And she apologizes. But, like, you can tell that Winter is really hurt. And at this point, I'm like, wait, y'all all don't really know each other that well. Like, why are you this hurt? This isn't like she's like your best friend or one of your homegirls telling something about you. But then I had to realize that this is on national TV. So I feel like this was more so Winter trying to protect her own reputation. And I absolutely understand it because, again, with TV, once it's on TV, it's in the public eye, people have a perception of you. And there, again, this is only episode, 5? So why would she want the perception from the public to be that, like, oh yeah, her and Jay went into the room, they probably hooked up? You know what I'm saying? Nobody really wants to have that reputation. I completely understand. So, out of nowhere, like, this turned into one of the most, like, emotional moments unnecessarily, because Simone starts to cry. And when I say cry, I mean, like, real tears, crying. And I'm like, what just happened? Like, you just apologized. You said you were sorry. What is all of these tears for? I don't understand. So we then see Simone in her confessional, and I think she was still crying in her confessional when she said this, but she was basically saying that, you know, she's jealous of those ladies. She's jealous of Joy, and she's jealous of Winter, and it's because, you know, they're cute and they're dainty, and, like, what guy wouldn't want them? And I did understand what she was saying, because, again, she's an attorney. And what do we know about attorneys? Most of the time, they're, like, very hard-hitting and straight to the point and, you know, very, what most people would consider to be strong. So when you compare her versus someone like Joy, or like, no, I wouldn't even say Joy. I would probably say Winter. Like, Winter just has, like, this very sweet, innocent vibe about her. So they're just two different types of women. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like there are things about Joy that Jay likes. There are things about Winter that Jay really likes. And with Simone, I feel like she just felt insecure, and she did not know where she stands, because at this point, Jay is the only guy that I've seen her really talk to, and if she knows that those two women are his interests, where does this leave her? So I feel like she was being a bit messy, and it backfired. I will say that I did like when she said in her confessional that, you know, she doesn't want to keep making the same mistakes, and that she's going to start working on it. I mean, I feel like at the end of the conversation, all the ladies were on the same page, and that was great. Okay, so we see Brian and Chris, they are talking. I don't know why Chris took it upon himself to want to be so nosy and involved in this Brian, Alicia, Alex saga, but whatever. So basically, Chris lets Brian know that he is not looking good because he had just heard, you know, from Alicia what had happened the night before. And at the same time, we see a clip of, you know, Big Mouth Shay. She is talking to Alex and Adriana. And I mean, she is just bumping her gums about how Brian was with Alicia. So out of nowhere, here comes Alicia. So she's over here talking about, you know, what went down with her and Brian. So Alex ends up asking Alicia, you know, was Brian supposed to come back to your room? And she's like, yeah, he was supposed to come back. Actually, can I, you know, go talk to you somewhere else? Like, if they want to take a walk and go talk. And she's like, yeah. So at the same time, we go back to the guys, and Chris is like, why didn't you go back to her room? Like, you know, at least go back and try to, like, clean it up, but you ghosted her. And Brian's response was, yeah, I didn't ghost her, I zombied her. Sir, either way, you should have been honest about you not feeling her and being like, you know what? I'm just going, he literally could have just said, you know, I'm just going to head out and go to bed. That's all he had to do. All he had to do. Don't sit up there and be like, yeah, I'm going to be back in like 20 minutes. I'm just going to go take a quick shower. Like, dude, you're a liar. So he did end up admitting to Chris that he has a problem rejecting others. I mean, isn't that such a nice problem to have, guys? That, like, my problem is I can't seem to, you know, wrap my head around turning others down because I'm such a good catch. I mean, must be great. So Chris is like, dude, you need to fix it. So we go to Alicia and Alex, and Alicia is basically trying to put in Alex's head that Brian is playing games. Like, it's clear that that's what she's trying to convey to Alex. So we then go back to the guys, and they've added Rasheed into the mix randomly. And, you know, they're telling him what happened. And even he made a face like, dude, you ghosted. Like, you just left her high and dry. So Alex ends up going to tell Brian that Alicia wanted to talk. I'm sorry, but that is like, it's so weird that Alex was the one to tell Brian that Alicia wanted to talk. But whatever. So she basically tells him, and she's very honest, that he hurt her feelings. And he goes on about him having good intentions, but, you know, he didn't do the right thing. And she's like, she just thinks that he's BSing. Like, she's like, you're bullshitting. And she tells him that she looks at him differently and she can't pursue him anymore. I mean, you can pretty much tell that his ego was definitely took a hit. Because what guy, especially a guy who's like not used to rejecting women, he doesn't want to hear someone reject him. You know what I'm saying? So Joy, she ends up updating Jay about the Simone situation and tells him that, you know, Simone was embarrassed and he just wants to move on. He just wants peace in his life. I'm all here for it, Jay. Like, you just want to have a cool, relaxed time in your life. No drama. I'm with it. So, guys, we see Shay. And, you know, this whole time, keep in mind, this is episode, 5? We have not seen her talk to anyone. But we finally see her talk to Rasheed. And it was going nowhere. Like, she just seemed very, like, not pushy, but, like, she was just trying to find some type of way to flirt, I guess. But it was not working because he was even looking at her kind of crazy. Like, if this girl don't get on my face, because I have no interest in her. I mean, I really feel like she knows that she's going home at this point because she's made no connections with anybody. And, like, she's, like, grasping for straws. So even Chris notices, like, how forward she is. And he's like, you know, she needs to turn up on the sexy side. And I'm like, I don't think she has one. I feel like this is her personality. She's just very, I guess you guys would friend zone her. You guys would say she's more of a homegirl, you know? So Jay ends up talking to Winter. And, you know, she's just trying to give Simone the benefit of the doubt, you know, keep everything super cool. And Jay is like, you know, I noticed that you like to keep your peace, and he really likes that. And then she comes back with a compliment about how, you know, he has this silent strength. And I'm like, y'all are on a whole nother vibe. Like, the way that these compliments are flowing, it's a beautiful thing. I like, you know, Jay and Winter. Like, they seem to be on the same page. So we then see Calfani, and he's playing Connect 4 with Adriana, and they talk about their love languages. And, you know, she says that when she's with him, she's all smiley and giggly. But one thing that stood out to me was that she did this comparison between Rasheed and Calfani. And this is what she said, guys. She said she doesn't know if she wants something that's safe and a good thing, or something that's new and a great thing. And I'm like, girl, you really gonna play Rasheed like this? Like, you're gonna call him safe and good because you've gone on one date with him prior to this. So to me, you guys are still getting to know each other. But you're going to call Calfani new and great? How do you know if it's great? Like, I don't understand how she's comparing good and great between Rasheed and Calfani, and you've only known these guys for like a couple of days. Like, I'm not understanding that. Like, I think she needs to go on a few more dates to know which guy is good and which guy is great. But, I think Denise had a point when she said, Adriana hasn't exactly experienced that much life. I feel like right now, Adriana is in the infatuation stage. She looks at Calfani as something shiny and new, and it's like, ooh, that's where I want to go. But also, I feel like she's interested in him to get under Denise's skin, and I'm going to get on that a little bit later. All right, so we finally see the guys are talking to Tommy about who, they like, who they don't like. So as for who likes who, Rasheed names Adriana, Brian names Alex, it's Jay, he names Joy, of course. I mean, I kind of gave a side eye because he didn't say Winter as well, but whatever. Anthony says Denise, Chris says Naya, Edwin said Naya and Joy, and baby, when I tell you, Chris, he looked like he wanted to put hands on Edwin, and Jay definitely felt some type of way because both of these ladies, they seem to be all in when they are around these guys, but the men are not expecting the women to, try and see what else is out there. So this is why I feel like next episode is going to get real interesting. Oh yeah, and you already know Calfani, he mentions Denise, and I think he mentioned Adriana as well. Even though, the other guys aren't really feeling Denise. As for who the guys don't like, Anthony said Shay, Edwin said Shay, and we already know why Edwin is not feeling Shay. After that whole thing at the pool where she just kind of like walked away, when he was talking about the police and what type of state we're in right now with Black Lives Matter. Jay, he said Simone because, Simone is the one who kind of stirred up a little mess for him that didn't need to be stirred up. Rasheed talks about Denise, which we already knew that was going to happen. He talks about the whole narcissist thing. And even Tommy is like, I'm light-skinned as well. And, we're tired of this whole light-skinned, dark-skinned thing. Our community really needs to fix that. And I absolutely agree. It was pretty interesting just to see like how the other guys also kind of felt a way about Denise. And I'm like, well, technically Denise is the one who's really trying to play this game for real because she is only taking interest in who she's interested in, which is Calfani. Oh, and I guess Anthony, but whatever. Chris said Alicia, he wasn't feeling her, but I think it's because Alicia had already shut him down because he was not her type. And of course, Brian says Alicia, and even Tommy had to ask, like, are you saying this because, all that went down and she's not interested in you anymore? And basically, yes, that's why. It's because she is not interested in him anymore. And I'm like, okay, Brian, get over yourself. Because at the end of the day, you could have just told her you weren't interested. We could have, wrapped this on up because you clearly want to be with Alex. Okay, so we then see that Shay, Alicia, and Denise are at the bottom. So we have Edwin, he's talking to Shay, and he basically tells her that the reason why I know he felt very strongly about, her not being there is because of that situation that went down at the pool. And also he brings up how, she hasn't made a connection with anybody. So she ends up going home. We then see Calfani talking to Denise, and I can't lie, I was like, yo, that's kind of messed up. You get sent home by the guy that you haven't, a connection with, because I feel like a lot of the guys, they had opinions about Denise because of that narcissistic comment that she made about Rasheed. So, he's just telling her, like, the comment that you made about Rasheed, it wasn't cool. You can't just make an assumption about somebody. And then he also brings up how, she felt some type of way when Adriana took him away when her and him were playing pool. And I'm like, dude, I would feel some type of way even though we are in this group situation. If I'm playing a game of pool with you, like, and we're vibing, we're having a good time, that was not the time for Adriana to come over there to come grab you. But whatever. So Denise is, like, really cool throughout this whole process. And I feel like at this point, we have all underestimated her. Because in my mind, I honestly thought that she was going to, pop off a little bit and have at least words, okay? I thought she was going to, like, have a few words to throw in there. But she kept it real cute, real, calm. And, she's staying. And, I mean, hopefully, she works on those things. Like, I don't want to see her, continue to talk about Rasheed or anything like that. Like, girl, just focus on the guys that you're interested in and keep it moving. So we then see Chris and Alicia. And at first he's, like, trying to give her, like, all these compliments about how, like, he likes her and Brian likes her and how they like her smile and her curves and all this stuff. And I'm like, okay, great. All physical, great. Like, first of all, I didn't believe anything that he was saying, just because I'm like, none of the guys seem to have any interest in her. But also, come to find out, she didn't have any interest in them. She literally only had eyes for Brian. And, she has a type. And she was going for that type. So, Alicia ends up getting sent home. And I can't lie. It's not like she was, on any of the guys' radars. So it was fine for her to go home. So we then see the next day that, like, there's like a group. I think they were like having breakfast or just hanging out, whatever. It's like one group, and it's like Joy and I think Rasheed was there, Denise, and like some other people. And, they were just talking about, like, elimination that night before or whatever. And, Denise was playing it cool, whatever. So we then see Adriana. She's sitting with, I can't remember who it was, like 2 other people. And she's clearly feeling some type of way that Denise is still here. Which further lets me know that she put that little tidbit, that little bug in Rasheed's ear just because she thought she was going to be able to get Denise out of the way and sit home. I'm sorry. I think Adriana is a really cute girl, but I don't trust her. I think that she purposely, told Rasheed that, I think it was a color thing, and I think that she purposely went over there to go grab Calfani. I think that she just wants to, have a thing with Denise. And I really hope that they can move past that and get over it. Because you're not there to focus on any of the other ladies. You're there to mingle with these guys and see if you have a connection. So I thought that this episode was going to end because usually the show, it ends like right after the elimination. We actually saw a date between Anthony and Denise. And I'm like, first of all, where has Anthony been? Because I feel like I haven't seen him since he was rubbing on Denise's toes in the first episode. So, they are having a little date, playing some little game in the grass. And I mean, they were really cute together. Like, I'm not even gonna lie. Like, they vibe well. They got each other's jokes. They, could joke around with each other and be comfortable. So Denise ended up making a bet. Like, whoever loses is gonna have to skinny dip. Of course, she loses. And she has to, jump in the pool naked. I mean, she had on, like, underwear, but still, he had to jump in the pool naked. And she actually did it. And he took his clothes off and he jumped in too. And I mean, it was good to see, like, a softer side of Denise. Because I feel like on this show, she is portrayed as, like, more of a dominant type woman. But I feel like when she was with Anthony, like, she was, like, such a, like, kind of girly, like, I mean, she was still competitive, but I mean, like, just, like, the way she moved and the way she was around him, like, you could just tell that she was really interested, and she was comfortable. So, at the end of the episode, we end up seeing the ladies, and they're in the lounge with Tommy, and he says that they need to figure out if they actually are, into these guys, if they like them, or if this is just infatuation. And I feel like there's a couple of people who are having that infatuation stage happening. So the ladies also learn that their friends will be there. As you all know, if you watched Ready to Love previously, there's always an episode where the ladies bring their friends for the guys to meet them so that, their friends can ask the hard questions, because your friends are pretty much going to be honest, because they also see things in these guys that you probably won't. So I definitely think that, the next episode is going to be very interesting, because some people's friends are going to ask some questions that are definitely going to determine how, that couple may move forward. So what did you guys think of this episode? Because that pretty much wraps it up. I would have to say that I did enjoy this episode. I mean, it was a little bit of drama, but it wasn't too much. What do you guys think of the show so far? Like, are we really into this season? How do you think this really compares to, like, last season? Because it's very different. How do you guys feel about Brian and this whole thing with Alicia and Alex? Like, do you think that Brian was wrong, or, is he just going through the emotions and the experience of, being in this resort? Trying to figure out what lady that he's actually liking. How do we feel about Rasheed and Denise? Like, do we think that she really should have apologized for her feelings? And what do you guys think of Naya and Edwin? Because I did not see that coming. Please let me know that I'm not the only one who felt that way, because I felt blindsided. And yeah, I feel like that's about it. So go ahead and like, comment, and subscribe. I would really love that. And, just drop down in the comments what you guys thought of the episode. I hope you have a good one. Bye.